Hi everyone, welcome to the Entrepreneurial Home Podcast. I'm Tarek Morshed with the Morshed Group at Sotheby's Residential Real Estate, where we specialize in representing entrepreneurs and founders in their residential real estate needs. Today we put together a showcase of the amazing interviews we had in 2019, showcasing our entrepreneurs and local community leaders. And today they're answering the question, or we've taken the clips, I should say, of the one question that we asked throughout the year around how important is an entrepreneur's surroundings in their work and productivity, whether it be at home, office, or in a co-work space. Check it out.
Our office is primarily designed for the business of work, since that's what we do there. We also, of course, pay our bills and stuff, but we try to segregate those things into their own space, segregate those things into their own time. And so that when we're there, like to your point earlier about how important is the workspace at home for an entrepreneur, it's easy to sit down at your desk and see 10 different things that are related, 5 of which are personal, 2 are family, and 3 are work, and just suddenly feel like you're working on all of those at once. I prefer to try to work something beginning to end and then move on to the next thing. And that's a discipline that I've built over time by being overwhelmed by so much that needs to get done at a time. So I think it's important to be able to understand, how to segregate those components of your life and make them work for you.
I think it's an extremely important consideration. Being an aesthetically driven kind of person, I think that the last 15 years I've been practicing, I guess putting to practice the belief that people are extremely influenced by what they see and what they can touch, and it affects their emotions and their behaviors. And so making sure that your environment, whether it's where you live or where you work, is super important. Things some of it's very superficial sounding, but lighting, some people don't think about that. I'm really particular about making sure there's an ample amount of light, the color temperature's right. I'm really fussy about that. Everywhere I've ever worked, whether it's at home or in that little studio or in our current office, that was a big consideration, and I'll throw a lot of money at it to make sure that the environment feels good.
I know that over time I have learned to be a minimalist. You can't pack a lot of things in a suitcase, but being in a hotel room, the hotel rooms that I enjoy the most are not the ones with the stuff all over the desks, just littered with things. I need a clean desk and clean lines. So whenever I met with a designer to work on my space, I was actually doing that from, I think I was in Sri Lanka at the time, and going back and forth with the designer whenever I first bought my condo, but telling her I need clean lines, I need something that's minimalist in nature, I need colors that are reflective of nature, so the light greens, the creams, all of those things, because distractions, bright colors, it makes me anxious. And so the space was perfectly designed, floor to ceiling windows, and I can actually see the water out the window, which is also calming for me.
The most important thing. I could be in a bad space, but if you walk in and you feel good, and the environment is good, and the people around you are good and positive and creative themselves and uplifting and collaborative, then I think that's more beneficial than really a really nice couch or
Got it in the space.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
I think that's important, and I definitely do better work when I'm surrounded by other people who are there to give me feedback or just say, hey, that sounds cool, or whatever you're working on. Or that's really obnoxious, I can't listen to that line of dialogue one more time, close your door. Or whatever it is, I think it's important to go out there and have to exchange energy with other people.
Nice.
Remove the people, remove the music. There is an interaction and a relationship that we develop with space, right? So the efficiency, how much noise or distraction is happening in the space, not just from an auditory standpoint, but when you look around the room, when we think about the idea of essentialism, right? Are all the things in the room necessary and supportive for what I'm trying to do? And those things could also be creative outlets as well. They're not all just for efficiency, right? Right? We don't honor enough the creative aspects. Are there enough layers in this room to keep me intrigued?
Right.
Are there enough layers in this room to also have me feel like I can be in a relationship and want to get to know the space better?
Right.
Right, and want to get to know myself better. So I think that there's some things that we do there that I really enjoy, and I really appreciate how much our team is fascinated with the hospitality of hosting people. And I think if we're working from home, we have that opportunity as well. How do we host our
You know, what comes up for me is this, I might butcher it a bit, but this quote, architecture quote, where it's like, you know, we spend 3 years human beings spend a few years to create a building, and then that building, you know, spends whatever, decades or hundreds of years creating us.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
So
You know, a big part of my approach to training, education, human development is context. You know, things are contextual. So there's, you know, for example, I won't belabor this point, but in this conversation, there's the content of my words, but there's a lot more happening, right?
My workspace was my art studio.
Uh-huh.
So I remodeled the art studio before we started the business.
Right.
So I did small, narrow windows. And so I just changed my art studio space. So I had to get out of the house. So I just had a newborn when I started the business.
Got it.
Not the best timing, but you're going to do what you're going to do.
Yeah.
It's like timing is everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just bull right through it. And so I had to separate myself, so I couldn't be in the house because I just wanted to play with the 1-year-old or the infant, and
Right.
the wife's there, right? And the house was under renovation too at the same time, so I just nestled down into my artist studio.
Got
And
it.
just changed that into my office.
Got
And I
it.
would get stressed out in there, I'd just walk around the block,
Yeah.
talk on the phone and walk, and then get back into my space.
So at home, I like to work on a schedule. So start whenever you would normally start your day, and end whenever you would end your day with some breaks in between. That just gets you in a flow. And for me, I have a home office, so I just go into the home office and stay there. And so I am treating it as if I'm actually going into a workspace.
That's great.
As a developer myself, I have my 3 screens over and all that kind of stuff, so I can't move those with me anyway, so it just forces me to get into that. And so I've customized my home to fit my needs and what I want for my work environment. In a co-working space, which I typically use as well, I just have headphones on and just focus on work as well. Even if I don't have any music on or anything on, I just still have my headphones on just to create sort of
I like
my
that.
bubble.
Our office, we've kind of designed it to be functional. We're built into the end of some storage units that I redesigned to basically be an office. Yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Very cool.
But we have like these really ultra modern whiteboards everywhere, and so we have a lot of creative and technical people. So we have stuff all over every whiteboard at every time, filling up multiple whiteboards all the time. It's very low tech, but it works for getting these ideas across. So there's sketches all over our office. So having that ability to collaborate there, I think, is super key, and that's been a big focus with our office.
When you have to be extremely concentrated on something, nothing can irritate you, because it takes your attention away from what you're doing. So everything needs to be in a sense ergonomic and peaceful and calm you down and kind of support you and propel you, all that good stuff. So it's kind of, if you look at it like feng shui.
Feng shui, yeah.
Yes. With the design, from my experience, I noticed 2 types of people. Some people like sharp corners, some people like round shapes. What I decided is to kind of make a sandwich. So I put round shapes on the top, and it's kind of like antique.
At the start? Okay, got it.
And very modern furniture. So it's kind of like two things together.
Interesting.
So now any type of client comes in and they feel a little more comfortable.
Got it.
In particular.
Well, it's very important. I found it, and I never thought about it before I really created Little Cyclist, because it's requiring a lot of creation. When you create some things on your own, right? And my space, I found my space. I love to be home, and it is phenomenal. We're talking about it a little bit before. Even if there's no one home, I still close my office door.
What a
for some
great
reason.
yeah.
I feel better. I feel an enclosed space where I can really be creative and be mine.
Almost like you can focus better
Yes.
because the door's closed.
Yes, that's correct. And I
So
just,
I,
you know, I noticed it a lot. I have a whiteboard behind me where I write a lot of notes and I erase that every single day.
Oh,
Yeah, so
interesting.
I translate those.
A clean palette for great ideas.
Yeah, so I learned that from one of my bosses into the hospitality business. You know, if you come into a space that it's clean and white paper in front of you, you're gonna be much more creative.
Wow.
So I always
cool.
clean my desk, you know, every night, so it's cleaned, totally empty, and my board is always empty because I make sure that I translate that whiteboard to my computers, and I follow.
I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Thank you to our guests and to our viewers from this past year. And as the Entrepreneurial Home Podcast moves forward into 2020, we're excited to bring you amazing content from this entrepreneurial community here in Austin, Texas, as well as industry leaders. Thank you and looking forward to it.